Welcome back, chemistry students. I'm Mr. Silverstein. Today we're going to move into part 2 of naming ionic compounds. Get out your spiral notebook or your note pack. I'm going to share my screen. Let's get started. So this is Unit 5, Concept 2, Part 2. And it's going back to our objective that if we give you a formula, you'll be able to determine its name. And we're going to actually show you how to name them when you actually see that formula. So there's going to be some practice and a couple of assignments. Let's get rolling. So let's review how to determine the chemical formula for an ionic compound. And remember, the ionic compound is between a metal and a nonmetal. So first you write down the ions for each element with its charge. That's that symbol with its oxidation number. You determine the number of each ions that it's going to take to make the compound with no charge. And you can do that by crisscrossing the charges very easily to know how many atoms or ions of each element you're going to need. Then you write down the formula using the subscripts to show how many of each ion it took. But that's going to give you the formula. But what do we call it? And so let's go back and take a look at this little example. What is the formula for the compound that forms between magnesium and phosphorus? Well, with your periodic table, you're going to know that magnesium is in group 2 and it's got a +2 charge. And phosphorus is in group 15. It's got 5 valence electrons, so it needs 3. So it's going to have a -3 charge. We're going to crisscross these numbers, and that's going to tell us that I'm going to need 3 magnesiums and 2 phosphorus to make this compound. And that gets us Mg3, P2, 3 magnesiums, 2 phosphorus make magnesium phosphide. Why do we call it phosphide? It says phosphorus here. We'll get there in just a second. So let's figure out why we call it this formula. So how do we name the ionic compounds? Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to write the name of the first element, which is the metal. So then you're going to write the name of the second element, the nonmetal, changing the ending of that to IDE. So for example, we have calcium and sulfur. We're going to change it to calcium sulfide. We just chop off the end of the UR and change it to IDE. Let's take a look at another one. This is sodium and nitrogen. The first element is sodium. Now, you made the compound, you realized that you needed 3 sodiums and 1 nitrogen to make that happen, but the first element is sodium. The second element is nitrogen. We can't walk around calling this sodium nitrogen. That doesn't sound right. So we're going to change the ending of the second element to IDE. We're going to change nitrogen to nitride. And so here we have sodium and nitrogen, and it becomes sodium nitride. It's a pretty simple process. And all you need to do is put the metal first, the nonmetal second, then change the ending of the nonmetal to IDE. Make sure that you don't just add the IDE, but you have to adjust this word, this name, so that it sounds right. I mean, we wouldn't want to be calling this sodium nitrogenide. It's sodium nitride. Now, What I'd like you to do is take a couple minutes and in your notepad, write down the name of the compounds based upon the chemical formulas below. So this is some practice. Why don't we do the first one together? I've got BeN2. This is going to be beryllium and nitrogen becoming beryllium nitride. So I want you to pause the video right now, take 2 or 3 minutes, and create the names of these compounds. All right, welcome back. What do we have here on number 2? We have Na, so that's sodium, and oxygen, sodium oxide. And then we have potassium and phosphorus, potassium phosphide. Looks like we have aluminum and nitrogen, aluminum nitride, and our friend magnesium with chlorine is now magnesium chloride. So that's pretty easy to do, isn't it? You're going to have some more practice to do. So what I want you to do is, after you review your notes on this, open up the next tab on naming ionic formulas. You're going to need your periodic table, or you can use p-table. Then once you've done L3, move on to L4. Well, that's all I have for you in this lesson. This is a pretty simple thing to do. We're just taking a look at the formula, getting the names of the elements, putting the metal on the left, the nonmetal on the right, and changing the ending of the nonmetal to IDE. Well, I'm Mr. Silverstein. That's all I have for you today. You guys have a great day.